He's got half a lap to go, and he's the Indy 500 champion.
Panther Racing, oh so good. They finished second here, twice here. They come again through the final two corners. J.R. Hildebrand.
Careful of traffic.
He's got to get around the lap. Traffic, 100 years. He hit the wall.
Oh,
just like
my
Thomas
goodness.
Schechter.
Keep
Just
your
like
foot on the gas.
Dan Wheldon is going to win the race.
Yeah, Dan!
That is unbelievable. Oh, my goodness.
Wheldon, after finishing second the last 2 years, wins when J.R. Hildebrand hits the wall coming out of 4, just as Schechter did after that.
What a tremendous finish. What a drive for Wheldon.
On June 22, 1978, in Emberton, Buckinghamshire, England, Clive and Sue Wheldon had their first child, Daniel Clive Wheldon. Clive at the time was a plumber and heat electrician, while Sue worked at home. Over the next few years, Clive and Sue would have 4 more children, and while the family was growing, they were also racing. Even before Dan was born, Clive would race karts locally, and Sue would help be his timekeeper. And for the most part, it was nothing more than a hobby to them. Dan picked up this hobby and began his own karting career at the age of 4 years old. With funding and support from his father, it became quickly obvious that Daniel had a natural talent behind the wheel. Wheldon began to be tutored by Bruno Ferrari as he continued to hone his abilities at the Rye House Kart Circuit. In 3 consecutive years, he won the RAC British Cadet Karting Championship, and eventually moved up to the British B Junior title. There, he began getting advertisement from Mark Rose and the 1973 karting world champion, Terry Fullerton.
Wouldn't you rather be out playing football with your mates?
No, because I love my karting, take it seriously, and hope for the best.
Dan also developed a rivalry with young fellow driver Jenson Button. As the 2 young Brits pushed each other, Dan eventually at the age of 17 won the FIA Formula A World Championship with Terry Fullerton's team. During this time, Dan had also completed his schooling at the Bedford School in Bedfordshire. Dan had also showed off his diversity as an athlete by participating in cross country, rugby, and becoming captain of the cricket team. Nearing the age of 18 now, however, Dan was determined to progress his car racing career by winning the junior championship for Team JLR. After this performance, Wheldon was nominated for the McLaren Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year in 1996 and 1997. He never won the award, however, and instead rival Jenson Button won the award in 1998. That year, Button and Wheldon were dominating the junior level divisions in the UK. Wheldon finished second at the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch, while Button won the event 3rd overall for the Van Diemen team in both the British and European Formula Ford championships. However, Button bettered him by 1 spot and finished second. Back and forth Button and Wheldon went until 1999. The next step for Dan Wheldon was the British Formula 3 International Series. However, the family didn't have the money. Already burning the candle at both ends, they were unable to take the next step. While Wheldon's rival made his debut in the British Formula 3 Series, Dan moved to America. He did this by recommendation of former team principal Ralph Furman Sr. Dan originally flew to America to test a Formula Ford in 2000, and during his trip he also attended an Indy Lights race, in hopes of one day being able to race there. He eventually received funding from John Bados, and Van Dyman, owners of the J-Hart Primus racing team. Never stepping foot in the American racing scene, Dan ran the 1999 US F2000 Championship Series, and early on, he struggled. Even though Dan had moved to America to run full-time in the F2000 Series, his family had stayed back in England. Dan, still having aspirations to run Formula 3 and wanting to visit his family, would frequently fly back and forth to England. This, however, was exhausting him and affecting his performance drastically, and part team owner John Betos noticed that. He eventually urged Wheldon to stop traveling to England so much, and Dan eventually reduced his travels home, and as soon as he did, it was like a light switch, winning 6 races and capturing 11 top 10s overall. On top of that, he became the first European British champion of the series and established his name as a quick and upcoming star. And at the turn of the century, he graduated from the F2000 Series to race in the Toyota Atlantic Championship for PPI Motorsports. There, with a full focus on the season, Wheldon showed off his talents again. He won the season opening race at Homestead-Miami Speedway, becoming the first man to ever win on his debut. He went on and won the Laguna Seca race as well, but came 26 points of beating Buddy Rice for the overall season title. Rice dominated the season, winning 5 of the 12 races that year. Dan, on the other hand, dominated the qualifying aspect of the series, winning 4 poles, the most of anyone that year. In his rookie season, Wheldon beat his experienced teammate Andrew Borden in the overall title standings, but this didn't save the team from shutting down. PPI closed its open-wheel doors and went to NASCAR full-time for 2001 to focus exclusively on its stock car program. After that, Wheldon moved to Indy Lights in 2001, driving the #1 Lola Buick. There, Wheldon won again, twice in his rookie year, at Road Atlanta and Gateway, and proved consistent, finishing top 10 in every race and finishing second in driver's points, behind Townsend Bell. After winning Indy Lights Rookie of the Year, he was now one of the top prospects for a future top-level open-wheel ride in America.
ABC Sports welcomes you to Homestead-Miami Speedway for the Grand Prix of Miami, the beginning of the 7th season of IRL racing.
Wheldon's first goal was to try and achieve a kart ride for the full 2002 season, but failed to find an open seat. After not finding a ride for the first half of 2002, he received a call from Panther Racing. They offered to give him a test driver role and provide the team with valuable information. At the time, Panther Racing owned championship competitor Sam Hornish Jr., and nearing the end of the season, in order to help Sam win the title, they entered Dan into the last 2 races of the year.
Row 3, Victor Mira, his second straight top 5 qualifying effort, and Eddie Cheever Jr. Row 4, Dan Wheldon making his league debut, and Loren Redon.
Under the number 15, Dan Wheldon made his IndyCar debut at Chicagoland Speedway, in a race that many fans deem an absolute classic between Little Al and Sam Hornish Jr. Sam won the race by 2 1/1000ths of a second, and Dan got a top 10. In his second start and the last race of 2002, Wheldon finished 14th, while teammate Sam Hornish won consecutive races and became the 2002 champion. Even though the information that Wheldon gave to the team might have proved crucial in Sam Hornish overcoming a late season's points gap to win the title, Panther Racing couldn't establish the necessary resources to fund a full-time ride for Wheldon in 2003. Dan got another offer for 2003 though. Kim Green from Andretti Green Racing offered Wheldon an opportunity to test a car during the off-season in October. After successful tests developing Honda's engine at Homestead-Miami Speedway, Wheldon was signed on to be the team's test driver as they continued to look for a way to fund a ride for Dan over the off-season. No sponsorship prevailed, and again at the start of the 2003 season, Wheldon was on the sidelines. But he wasn't for long. An opportunity arrived in the form of misfortune for another. Dario Franchitti, spending time in his home country of Scotland, got involved in an accident on his motorcycle and broke part of his vertebrae. Unable to race the 3rd race of the year in Twin Ring Motegi, Wheldon stepped up to the plate to start only his 3rd ever IndyCar race. Dan qualified an impressive 5th, and in a race plagued by crashes, Wheldon lasted through them all to get his best career finish of 7th. With Dario still hurt and the Indy 500 fast approaching, Andretti Green put Robbie Gordon in the number 27, but they moved Wheldon to the 26 car for the race. Again, Wheldon qualified 5th for his first ever Indy 500. Starting alongside fellow 500 rookie Scott Dixon, Wheldon ran top 10 for most of the day. Then a late race restart with 14 to go, Wheldon is holding his own in the top 6. He blocks his former teammate and reigning champion Sam Hornish Jr. all the way to the grass on the backstretch and throws the car into turn 3. However, the run doesn't last for long.
Wow! And Wheldon upside down.
Well, this changes the whole complex of the race, Paul. We're going to have another restart. Dan Wheldon is a lucky guy. These cars are Kevlar carbon fiber, have a wonderful
Look at that.
bar. Look at him. He's
Unbelievable.
Wheldon has a spectacular crash. And for the first time in Wheldon's career, he is thrown into the open wheel spotlight. Even though it may be for the wrong reason, during his escape from fate, head commentator Paul Page mentions the special helmet Dan had worn for this race.
He has a beautiful helmet. King Richard and the Lionhearted on it. I bet it's got some scrapes on it now.
Well, every time you have a crash like this, your helmet goes into what we call the showcase, because anytime it's banged, you never get a chance to reuse it.
After finishing 19th, Dan continued to run the 26 after Indy, and after a 20th at Texas, Dario Franchitti returned to the number 27. When Dario came back to the team, Dan's time was thought to be over, but it wasn't. Retiring team owner Michael Andretti gave Dan his 26 car, and Wheldon was able to keep racing. With a plague of bad luck, and the only bright spot being in 8th place at Richmond, Dan got his first ever top 5, with a 4th at Nashville Superspeedway. After that, Wheldon picked up his performance. He led 38 laps at Chicagoland, and finished top 10 8 times for the rest of the year, including finishing his first ever podium at the season's finale at Texas. Even with missing 2 races to start the season, Wheldon got 11th overall in title standings, and won Rookie of the Year. Oddly enough, Wheldon had got most of his success up to this point by his amazing prowess on ovals. For a kid that grew up racing at various road courses in England, coming to America and dominating the oval track scene was particularly puzzling. But with his reputation higher than ever, and the foundation laid for his career, the Lionheart was ready to leave his mark.
No intimidation there from Rice at all, is there? As he climbs up on the back end of Wheldon, green flag comes out, and they go back to running. Here he comes. Outside. They touch things up front. They keep it under control. Oh, that's unbelievable.
In 2004, Wheldon was ready to impress team owner Michael Andretti, and after another 3rd place finish to start the year, the circuit went to Phoenix. There, Dan Wheldon won his first pole, and although he didn't lead a lap, Wheldon again finished 3rd. After the 2 3rd place finishes, the series went to race number 3 this season at Twin Ring Motegi. Wheldon dominated the day, leading 192 of 200 laps and lapping up to 6th. In Motegi, Japan, the place only a year ago where he had gotten his first opportunity with Andretti Green, Dan Wheldon finally pulled it off.
Just 1.5 miles to go for Dan Wheldon. 22nd time in the history of the league, if he can just make it around this last lap. But a driver has won from the pole. Last guy to do it was DeFerrin at Texas just last year in the final race of his career. Dan Wheldon. They don't come any more likable, and now he's notched his first victory.
Dominating the day, leading 192 of 200 laps and lapping up to 6th. On a big day for Honda and an Andretti Green 1-2 finish, the crowd at Motegi erupts, and in only his 2nd full-time season, heading into the Indianapolis 500, Dan Wheldon has the points lead. The line art has taken the IRL by storm, and now he for the second time faces the challenge of the greatest spectacle in motorsports. Wheldon in 500 qualifying comes up one spot short of winning 3 consecutive poles in his first ever Indy 500 front row start. During the race, he does lead 26 laps on the day, and eventually finishes third in a rain-shortened Indy 500. At this point, he still holds the points lead over fellow teammate Tony Kanaan, and in the next race at Texas, Wheldon finally slips.
Wheldon's slowing down there. Something happened.
Yeah, now, you know, Wheldon he's got a right front corner.
Now the gearbox is gone.
Kanaan would go on to win the race, and he fell to 13th with a blown gearbox by the finish. Wheldon came back though and won with his second career win at Richmond. This time he starts from 20th in a 22-car field and drove his way to the front by the end. Wheldon over the middle part of the season would have varying success before coming to Nazareth, Pennsylvania, where he again achieved victory. This time, it was an Andretti Green 1-2-3 finish. This moved Wheldon back to second in standings, but still 72 points behind Tony Kanaan. And even though Wheldon ended out the year with 3 more top 5 finishes, Kanaan still won the title by 85 points. In 2004, Wheldon was impressive, but in 2005, Wheldon was dominant. Building momentum with an incredible sophomore season, the sky seemed to be the limit, and Wheldon went out in 2005 and won the season opener at Homestead. He then went to Phoenix and led the most laps before falling to 6th by the finish. The week after, Wheldon won again, this time at his first ever road course in St. Petersburg. Along with that win came an Andretti Green 1-2-3-4 finish at the front of the field, and Wheldon then came back to the track he got his first ever career win at, and came home victorious again in Motegi. At this point in 2005, the circuit was heading into Indy, and Wheldon again was the points leader. This time though, he had won 3 of the first 4 races, and had built up an already impressive 46-point lead over teammate Tony Kanaan. During the month of May, Dan Wheldon had an off-qualifying performance, placing him 16th on the grid, and for the early part of the race, Wheldon fought through traffic. Eventually, in the last quarter of the race, Wheldon had fought to the front, but strategy has now gotten very complex. Most, if not all, of the front runners are unsure if they can make it on gas, and after a lengthy caution, Wheldon takes the field to the green with 38 to go. Instantly, the rest of the field pounces on him and he falls to second. Vitor Mira and Dan Wheldon now duel lap after lap, with Wheldon eventually working back out front before another caution with 29 laps to go. Wheldon stops and takes 4 tires, while Mira takes none. With all this, a young Danica Patrick takes the lead under caution, and becomes one of a few women to ever lead in the Indy 500. With 26 to go, she takes them back to the green. Wheldon starts working his way from 5th, and he needs to go fast. If Danica starts to build enough of a lead, she will have enough time to save gas and still hold the lead. With 23 to go, Wheldon is now 4th and still chasing the Rahal Letterman cars. 19 to go in the race now, and Wheldon is 3rd. Only Brian Herta is between Wheldon and Patrick. Wheldon finally gets past Herta, and he switches his engine to the richest fuel mix. However, Danica is the exact opposite. Patrick is running the leanest fuel mix possible, trying to make it all the way, and do the biggest upset yet, and win the 500. With 14 to go, Wheldon goes for it on Patrick, and right as he makes the pass, caution. They spend some time determining who was the leader at the caution, and finally they determine Wheldon. The restart comes with 10 to go, and right as that happens, Danica pounces. Wheldon is still stalking, but now Danica is burning max gas, and it's unsure if she can make it at that pace. However, Dan can make it. At 7 to go, Wheldon zips back past by Danica now, as she begins to struggle. And with 3 to go, the cars start to battle behind Wheldon, and he keeps pulling away. Coming to the white though, caution comes out for a crash in turn 3 involving Sebastian Bourdais, and as the field paces around one more time, Dan Wheldon is on top of the world.
White flag is out, and Dan Wheldon is going to win the Indianapolis 500-mile race under yellow. For much of the late stages of this race, it has been the Dan and Danica show, but it will be Dan Wheldon winning the 89th Indy 500 as an Englishman will roll into victory lane at the world's greatest race course for the first time in 4 decades.
That's a chicken you see in front of you, Paul. You ready to drink some milk? That's the boy. Guys, I'm not emotional, but I'm crying. I can't believe I just won the Indianapolis 500. I am so proud of you guys. I'm quiet, and I'm never quiet.
For the first time in his career, he drinks the milk. And while he celebrates in victory lane, the cameras aren't on Wheldon, but they're on Danica Patrick. Although Wheldon had just won the race, Danica Patrick had made all the storylines. Coming in as a lovable underdog and a unique storyline, Patrick found herself in the eye of the media storm. By coming so close to victory, but just a few laps short on gas, Patrick takes most of the spotlight away from Wheldon. But for the championship battle, Dan, coming in the race 6, now has a 72-point lead over Tony Kanaan. And over the next few races, Wheldon keeps being consistent, finishing top 10 in every race except Nashville. And now with 5 races left, heading into Pikes Peak, Wheldon has a 90-point lead. He leads over former teammate Sam Hornish Jr. And in a very clean race at Pikes Peak, Wheldon cruises to victory and beats Hornish to increase his season's win total by 5 now. But coming to Infineon, Wheldon has issues. During a strategy call, Wheldon gets the lead, but the car stops running, and eventually it's realized that the fuel pump has failed. And with now 3 races to go, the points lead slips to 79. And now heading to the track that he debuted at, it'll be crucial now for him to rebound to ensure his title run.
You enter the day as a points leader. You could leave here as a champion. How much do you let yourself think about what this day could mean for Dan Wheldon?
I'm not going to even think like that. That's the wrong way to think, in my opinion. I've got to, you know, the Indianapolis 500. I worked that very hard, and I believe that if a race is meant to be, it's meant to be, and that's what I feel with the championship. If I do everything that I'm capable of, and you know these guys do everything that they're capable of, then that stuff will take care of itself. And like I say, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But I'd like to be at the front. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to sit around in 5th or 6th. So
hey, thanks for your time. Good luck today.
Thank you very much.
It is Wheldon. It is Castroneves going 1 and 2, and we've got 4 laps to go at Joliet.
It's late, and coming to the finish, it's a duel between 2 of the best oval racers in the IRL. Helio is going for broke, having almost nothing to lose, while for Wheldon, winning the race would clinch him the title, but contact with Helio could also lead to his demise.
To go, Dan Wheldon is your leader. He's the reigning Indianapolis 500 champion, trying to hold off Team Penske in the form of Helio Castroneves, number 3, and number 6, Sam Hornish, both of them looking for another victory in 2005, but it's going to be a tough task to get around Dan Wheldon as they come out of turn number 4. It is Wheldon. The Toyotas and Penske decide to go high. Wheldon keeps the low line, and here comes Tony Kanaan on the inside.
Smart team movement by Team Penske right now. They're going around the high side the longer way. Will the drafting work and overpower the Honda power that's on the low line? We'll have to see.
Chicago breeds close finishes, and they are going to make it yet another one. It's Wheldon on the inside. Castroneves on the outside. Somebody wake the queen, because Dan Wheldon just walked away with a checkered flag.
That was unbelievable.
The pride of the UK racing community has done it again. Dan Wheldon picks up his 6th victory on the year. Dan Wheldon has to do is show up at Watkins Glen and Fontana in California, and the title is his. Those are 2 very happy parents, as Dan Wheldon, I'm sure, will crack out a dozen donuts like you have never seen.
A 5th and 6th at Watkins Glen, California, and off a dream season for the Englishman. And for 2005, the Lionheart is at the top.
Well, he could coast there by now. He could just cut it off and coast because he's going plenty fast enough.
Normally the victory goes to series regulars, as fortune would have it, but this year something different, as Scott Dixon brings the car to the checkered flag, along with Dan Wheldon and Casey Mears. First victory at the Rolex 24 for Chip Ganassi Racing. And there's the boss.
You came here for your first 24 hour, didn't go your way, then you go on to win the Indy 500 of the IRL Championship, and now you're a Daytona 24-hour winner. How's it feel?
Yeah, it's amazing. I got to thank everybody at Target Chip Ganassi Racing because, you know, to be honest, we had some stuff through the night that they took care of, and not just the O2 crew, the O1 crew, the whole team worked very hard for this. So it's a fantastic achievement for everybody involved. This is another good title to add to the Indianapolis 500. So
what a way to start your relationship with Chip.
Yeah, and Scott. I mean, we were very quick at the IndyCar test, and now this. So keep Chip happy for a while, I think.
Change was in the air after 2005 for Dan Wheldon. Before the 05 season had even ended, there was rumors that Wheldon would leave Andretti Green by season's end. Wheldon was eventually courted to join Chip Ganassi Racing, and the reason for the swap was because Dan wanted to stay competitive. The Ganassi team seemed like that was the best option. They had swapped over their chassis manufacturers, and for engine manufacturer, they had swapped over the Honda like everyone else after Toyota had pulled out of the series. With all this change, Wheldon still looked good on track. Misfortune in St. Petersburg was the only thing keeping Wheldon in the points lead for the third year in a row heading into the month of May. And coming into Indy as a defending champion, Dan was again the favorite. He dominated the day, leading 148 of 200 laps before fading to fourth and watching his old car come up oh so close. A broken drive shaft at Watkins Glen was the only blemish on Dan's record after Indy, and coming out of Milwaukee with 4 races left, he was one of 4 still vying for the title. A third place at Michigan, paired with points leader Sam Hornish's poor run, knocked the points deficit down to 17. But after finishing 4th behind all 3 of his championship rivals, Dan needed to pull off a late season hot streak to clinch this title. In the final race of the season, 4 drivers have a shot. Helio Castroneves has a 1-point lead over Hornish, a 19-point lead over Dan Wheldon, and 21 points over Scott Dixon. In one of the closest and craziest points battles in IRL history, Wheldon goes out and dominates again, bookending his season with wins, but all of the other championship contenders came to play as well, each one finishing right behind him. As Wheldon wins the race, and it comes out to a tie. Wheldon and Sam Hornish Jr. tie, and are only just 2 points ahead of Helio Castroneves. The tiebreaker goes to Sam Hornish, with having more wins than Wheldon on the year in total. And overall, Wheldon came up a singular point from going back-to-back in titles in 2005 and 2006. And after yet another incredible season, with Chip Ganassi this time, Dan Wheldon was easily considered a championship favorite for the 2007 season. To start off the year again, Dan Wheldon won a Homestead for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. And heading into the May break for the 3rd time in 4 years, Wheldon led the points after a win at Kansas going into the May break for the Indy 500. This year, Wheldon didn't have much luck in the 2007 Indy 500. Crashing out early, this led into a streak of bad finishes for Wheldon, which wouldn't turn around until a 3rd at Richmond. Wheldon had some mediocre runs till the end of the 2007 season, and captured 4th in overall driver standings. In his 3rd season with Chip Ganassi, Wheldon failed to go 4 in a row at the season opener at Homestead, and throughout the year his success varied. His first win of the year came at Kansas in 2008, and he was only 9 points out of the lead heading into the month of May. Wheldon went to Indy hoping to once again come out on top. He qualified front row and led 30 laps but came home 12th. And after Indy, Wheldon finished top 5 after every race, until Watkins Glen. After that, he was 59 points behind the championship leader, and his luck never turned around. While he did have good runs, it wasn't enough to get him close to teammate Scott Dixon. Wheldon was in plans to stay at Ganassi past 2008, but decided against it after learning that Chip had already started talks with Tony Kanaan without telling him. Feeling betrayed, Wheldon looked elsewhere and decided to make a return back home to Panther Racing. The team he made his first start for in IRL, he replaced Vito Mira in the 4 car, while Mira moved to the number 14 car at AJ Foyt. Wheldon had joined a team in 2009 that hadn't won since 2005 at Texas with Thomas Scheckter, and immediately the downgrade in equipment was obvious. Although Wheldon finished top 10 twice to start the year, he still kept finishing behind his old team cars at Andretti Green and Chip Ganassi. In Wheldon's best run of 2009, he came to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and finished second in the Indy 500 to Helio Castroneves. This would be his best run of 2009. He would not win a race all season, and for the first time since 2003, he went winless and finished a humble 9th in season standings. In 2010 was more of the same. This time there was some more controversy. Wheldon finished 5th at Sao Paulo at the start of the year, but not after making contact with Alex Tagliani, sending him straight into Tony Kanaan. Impressively, he recovered to a top 5 spot in that race. And in the run-up to Indy, Wheldon had a horrid time, having consistently terrible runs, until yet another second-place run in the Indy 500. Wheldon again showed off his prowess in the clutch and on ovals, tying his best run of the year yet again. The other time he finished second would be at another track that was good to him, Chicagoland Speedway. He finished second to his old car, and at season's end, Wheldon was again 9th in standings. By this point, Wheldon's relationship had soured with Panther Racing and team owner John Barnes. He filed a lawsuit against him, and by the end of 2010, they had reached a settlement. Dan would leave Panther Racing with no job lined up for 2011. Jerry Hildebrand would replace Dan Wheldon in the number 4 car, and for the first time since 2002, the Lionheart had no ride.
And finally, who will stand atop the mountain and reign as the IZOD IndyCar Series World Champion? It all culminates Sunday, October 16th in the bright lights of Las Vegas. The IZOD IndyCar Series drivers roll the dice at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to decide the championship.
2011 was an exciting year for all of IndyCar. The $5 million challenge set up by Randy Menard, which incentivized any driver not on the IndyCar circuit to try and run the last race of the season. The way to win the challenge would be to enter the last race of the season and start from the back and then come to the front to win. The hope was to attract a multitude of airing drivers for the last race of the year at Las Vegas. The track would replace Homestead on the schedule, and with the increased banking at the track came faster speeds and closer racing. With all this excitement and anticipation for the 2011 season, it was all without Dan Wheldon. Wheldon had no ride for the year, and going around talking, trying to find somewhere to go, he found himself in talks with former teammate Bryan Herta, who agreed to put together a low-budget team for the Indy 500 only. The team was called Bryan Herta Autosport. Wheldon agreed to the ride with his former teammate, and they went to Indy. Through strategy and skill, near the end of the race, he finds himself second, behind the number 4 Panther Racing car of J.R. Hildebrand. It's coming down to a fuel mileage race, and Dan is trying to stay as close to Hildebrand as possible in case he runs out of fuel. Hildebrand is driving hard, and the rookie is looking like he could win. Coming to the checkered flag, he looks like he could coast to victory until...
He's got half a lap lap to go, and he's the Indy 500 champion. Panther Racing, oh so good. They finished second here, twice here. They come again through the final two corners. J.R. Hildebrand. Careful of traffic. He's got to get around the lap. Traffic. 100 years. No! He hit the wall. Oh, just like Thomas Schechter. Keep your foot on the gas. Dan Wheldon is going to win the race. That is unbelievable. Oh my goodness. Wheldon, after finishing second the last 2 years, wins when J.R. Hildebrand hits the wall coming out of 4, just as Schechter did. What a tremendous finish. What a drive for Wheldon.
Wheldon, who had come so close to winning with Panther Racing the last 2 years, had now passed them coming to the checkered flag on the front stretch. Wheldon finally went back to victory lane and does it in the greatest race for the second time. The underdog story of the year, of not running a race all season and then taking this young underdog team into victory lane in the greatest race of them all, may have been one of Dan Wheldon's greatest accomplishments. This time Wheldon got to celebrate his victory with not just his mom and dad, but his wife and kids as well. Wheldon's stock was high, extremely high. But Wheldon still had no ride for the rest of the 2011 season. Wheldon had made a deal to do some broadcasting later on in the season for the IndyCar Series, and he had also been working with the IndyCar Series to test their new IR12 car, which would debut in 2012. For the rest of the year, Dan worked diligently, helping make this car as safe as possible. Although it appeared that maybe Dan would not touch a car till at least 2012, he did get a phone call. Dan had gotten a call from Sam Smith. He wanted him to drive his number 77 car. He had also gotten an offer to drive in the season finale at Las Vegas, the track that had ironically replaced one of his best tracks at Homestead-Miami. Wheldon now was going to get an offer to go for the $5 million bonus that Randy Menard had put forward at the beginning of the year. All Dan would have to do was start at the rear and drive through to the front to try and win, which for Wheldon was very possible. There had been rumors that maybe NASCAR driver Casey Kane would take the offer, or possible F1 stars, but all of them faced scheduling conflicts. So Dan took the challenge, and he was ready to race on October 16th.
Championship trophy of the IZOD IndyCar World Championship that will be decided today. Our telecast presented by Sunoco, and the two contenders getting ready to strap in along with 32 other drivers. Dan Wheldon will start at the back of this 34-car field. A lot of pressure. $5 million also riding on the line if he can get to the front. No one's ever won from further back than 28 in an IndyCar race.
On the morning of October 16th, for the season finale of the IndyCar Series, Dan had signed a multi-year deal to drive the 7 car for Andretti Autosport. He would be replacing Danica Patrick, who had made the full-time move to NASCAR for 2012. With Dan being ready to run the $5 million challenge at the season finale, and also prepare himself for the next step in his career, he strapped into the car for the challenge. Wheldon, looking at a swelled field of 34 Indy cars, conducted an interview with ABC.
And the 34th and final car starting in this field will be driven by Dan Wheldon, going for the $5 million bonus if he can win the race. He is our in-race reporter. There he is in the number 77. Let's talk to him, Scott.
Dan Wheldon, Scott Goodyear up in the ABC booth. Do you have us?
I've got you, Scott.
Big question everybody wants to know, Dan, today is, can you win and take home the $5 million bonus?
Honestly, Scott, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that I could win. Certainly, I'm not underestimating the talent of the other drivers in the field. I think IndyCar's got a phenomenal field right now. I want to thank GoDaddy and Verizon for this opportunity. And let me tell you, the Sam Schmidt Motorsports team, Brian Herder Autosport guys have been working hard on this Bowers and Wilkins at Magnolia car with William Rast, Curb, and Big Machine Records. So just so you know, Big Machine Records look after Taylor Swift. She's big right now. I've got to try and impress them a lot.
And the speeds we have here, 222 miles an hour. I mean, just fantastic speeds here today. You expect that in the race?
Absolutely. I think they'll be a little bit faster, but this is going to be a spectacle. This is a great way to go out for the IndyCar Series in 2011. We know we've got the new cars and multiple engine manufacturers coming for 2012. So we're excited and you're grateful to Honda for sponsoring this particular race.
Good luck today, Dan.
In his car prepared by the Sam Smith team, Dan Wheldon put the visor down and rolled to the green at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
And the final race for the championship is green. Looking for Dan Wheldon. Started 34th in this field. He has moved up 10 spots. You're on board with him. And one thing he was worried about going into this race was all that dirty air created by 34 cars.
But right now, the position he's in, he actually has a small advantage because everybody else has opened the air up in front of him. And he, oh, here we go.
Trouble contact and a huge crash.
Oh.
Up in turn number 2. Oh, multiple cars involved. Oh, my. It looks like Dan Wheldon may be involved in it.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Wheldon has passed away. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today. IndyCar, its drivers and team owners, has decided to end the race. In honor of Dan Wheldon, the drivers have decided to do a 5-lap salute in his honor. It will take place in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.